Tim back with you again. First order of business today is I'd like to give a huge shout out to my friend and buddy on YouTube, Mr. Bill Gowdy. Gave me a good shout out yesterday on his channel, and at the time I think I had 7 subscribers to my channel, which I've had for about a week now. And by the end of the day yesterday I had almost 30 subscribers, and all my video views went from 20s up into the high 60s and 70s. So thank you, Mr. Bill, I appreciate that. Good buddy. Anyhow, today's business is I'd like to talk to you about my everyday carry, or EDC bag, that pretty much goes with me everywhere I go. And if I leave the house going anywhere farther than right down to the corner store, I carry my EDC bag in my Jeep with me everywhere I go, and back and forth to work, everywhere. So anyway, I'd like to kind of go over some of the things I carry in my bag, and got some pretty neat stuff in here, and built it over a lot of years of just, you know, prepping, stuff like that. So I've been through all this stuff in the bag. I've actually lived out of this bag before to make sure that everything was taken care of and I had all the bases covered. So anyway, let's get started. This is a Sandpiper of California bag. It's called a 3-day bag, and weighs loaded 20 pounds, maybe a few ounces over that. But anyhow, I take it everywhere with me. It's a really comfortable bag. It's got a nice chest strap on it, good padded shoulder straps, and it's got a waist belt on it as well, so you can shift the weight from either up high or down low based on how far you're trekking and getting tired, so you can move the weight around on your back and your shoulders. So anyway, first let's look at the outside of the bag. Over here I've got, of course, what everyone needs to have, which is a nice multi-tool. Got to have that. That's a must. Up here, of course, you have to have a flashlight. And this is also a red light, so I could use it at night in my shelter, or if I'm camping in my tent. But that way it doesn't kill your vision if you use a red light at night, and then when you turn it off, you still have your night vision. So if you use the white light, number one, you're visible from far away, and number two, you lose your night vision until it takes a while to recover. Over here on the other side, got a nice set of U.S. Camel binoculars, 10 by 25, good little set of binoculars, compact. Another thing I have on the other side of the bag is a K-Bar Mark I U.S. Navy SEAL knife. I've been using this for a couple of years, bushcrafting and using it out in the woods. And it's been beat on quite a bit, but it's got a full tang in it, so it's really good and solid. Holds an edge really well when you sharpen it, and it cuts right through wood or anything else you want to go through. And because it's a SEAL knife, it's got multiple latches on it, so you can latch it over and down, and then you can also latch it around the handle of the knife, so it's not going anywhere. And people always ask why it has double latches and a locking sheath on it. I said, well, that's because if you jump out of an airplane and you land in the water, you want to make sure your knife stays with you. And it's a really good knife. Picked that up at Amazon with the sheath for about $70. And at the time I thought, wow, $70 for a knife, that's a little expensive. But it's been well worth the investment, and it's really paid off in the long run. Also in the back of the bag, I've got a 1.5 liter Camelback water reservoir back there with my tube out here. So I've always got plenty of water. And I've also got chapstick, a lot of carabiners, a thermometer, and that pretty much covers the outside of the bag. So let's dig in. Up in the main chamber, top chamber, I have quite a few neat things, but one of the main things I have is a lot of beef jerky. Got to have food. And then I carry about a 1.5 week supply of coffee, drink mixes, all I need is water, food bars, a lot of coffee. And also with all my beef jerky and everything, I could easily go, if I really watched what I ate out of the bag and along with my 2 pounds of beef jerky, I can go quite a while out in the wilderness. I'd say probably at least a week and a half. If I really ration it, probably 2 weeks, living just out of this bag. Now, also in here is a SOL Escape Bivvy. You can buy cheap bivvies from SOL, and it's about the same size, maybe a tiny bit smaller. You can get them for like $16, $20. This is the $39 version, and the reason I got this one is because this is now their newest model, and it's breathable. So you don't wake up cold and basically damp and covered with moisture and condensation in the bag if you sleep in it overnight. I can take this thin bag, which has got a reflective silver lining inside, an orange lining outside, and I've taken it down to about 36 degrees and slept all night in it just with my clothes and a light jacket. And it's got a zipper on the side, zips up, comes up fully over your head, and it's got a tie on that hood so you can tighten that down around your face. And at 36 degrees, I stayed plenty warm, and it was plenty comfortable. I actually did have a sleeping pad with me at the time, which I don't have on this bag, but that was one of the things I carried in the bag. Number 2, I have a Pathfinder from Dave Canterbury's place, Self-Reliance Outfitters, and this is a kind of expensive little stove to buy, but I've used it a lot. And you've got a lid right here at the top, and then it all nests together. So I've got a nice 32-ounce water bottle. Also inside I have a nice cup that I can cook in, and it's got nice handles on it. That's about 25 ounces, holds, and comes in really handy, works really well. You can also get a bush pot from Self-Reliance Outfitters if you want to use a bigger pot. I know Bill Gowdy used the one. I bought him one of these 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and he used it and fried catfish in it. But his single downer about the whole thing was the small size of the cook mug, because it's it's only 25 ounces and you don't get a ton of room in there. And he was cooking fried catfish and zucchini. But he would just put a load in while he was eating, and then by the time he was done eating, he'd go pull that load out. Also on the very bottom, it has what they call, or what Bill calls especially, a hobo stove. And you can just use wood and cook in this little small stove. And basically it's got holes in the top, and it's got a place on the side where you can feed wood into it once you get your little small fire going, and you're good to go. You can cook your food and warm up your water for coffee and all that good stuff. And then in the front pouch out here, it's got a nice shoulder strap as well. In the front pouch out here, it's got some other little accessories with it, and it's got a, this is called a bass mouth spreader. And it's basically a little metal device that you pop open. And then you can take that, if you don't want to use the bush pot and you want to start a fire, you can basically hook this on your cup, and you can hang it from a tree, and now you've got a hanging bush pot. If you hang this with some paracord, you can adjust it up and down over your fire to cook, and it comes in really handy. So, put all this away later. But it's a really good kit. It's very dependable. I've used it quite a lot, and definitely have to have it to make my coffee in the morning, that's for sure. The coffee that I use is pretty neat. It comes from Malaysia. It's made by Nescafe, and it's really good. It's called a 3-in-1. I like cream and sugar in my coffee. And you get these little sachets, they call them, and you get a bag of 28 of these for about $12 at Amazon. And I've become absolutely addicted to that coffee. It's very good. And you can also get lattes and other different flavors that are really, really good stuff. One other thing I have in here, 2 other things actually. One is a Corona saw that you can use to cut your wood if you want to even help improve your shelter, or you just need good wood for fire. Comes in real handy, super sharp, and will cut through wood, I mean, just like hot butter almost. Works great. Last thing I have in here, I looked yesterday on the internet and I didn't see that they're available anymore. I got this from Reliance Outfitters as well, from the Pathfinder people with Dave Canterbury. And this is called a Terra Nova tarp. This is a 7x7 square tarp, and Dave will tell you plain and simple, square tarps are better for building shelters than rectangular tops, which is what you get in all the Home Depots and places that you buy tarps from. A square tarp will make a really good shelter. This tarp also has an offset hood that is in a Velcro pocket that you undo the Velcro. You pull this hood out, you put this thing on, it goes about all the way down to the ground on you to cover it because the hood's a little bit offset to one side, so the back hangs down a little more than the front. And then once you get the hood out, you can even put on a full-size cowboy hat and it'll fit over it. And it makes great shelters. I'm going to put a video and a link down below of Dave actually setting up a plow point or a diamond shelter using this 7x7 tarp. And one thing Dave always talks about in his videos is we carry plastic stakes. We don't carry the metal, the titanium, aluminum. You can bend those things real easy. You're not going to bend these hard plastic stakes, and you can put your foot on them and pound them down into the ground pretty easy. I usually carry 4, sometimes I carry 6 to put my shelter together, but 4 is minimal to assemble the shelter, and it works really good that way. So you can check out the video below, I'll attach that. So go into the next pocket, the middle pocket, and in here, if I don't want to use my hobo stove, also from, got this off of Amazon, but this is my Hiker Pro Katydin, so this gives me water. I can purify water. It takes about 48 pumps to get about a liter of water. So you can fill up bottles of water. I can fill up, I've got an attachment for this that hooks straight to my Camelback, so I don't even have to open my pack to put water in it. I can undo the bite valve on the very front of this, plug the output hose of my Katydin into that, and pump water straight into my Camelback, and that works really great to keep my reservoir full in case I always use water on the road. But what I do is I'll fill up my Camelback for when I'm on the move, but if I'm at camp, I'll fill up my 32-ounce bottle and use that for cooking, for coffee, and everything else that I need. Also down in here is another product from Reliance Outfitters, and the Pathfinder School is Dave Canterbury, of course. Bought a lot of his stuff because it always seems to be very, very top quality. And this is a alcohol stove, more or less methanol. You don't want to use regular old alcohol. But it's got a nice little grate on it that fits on the top, so you can actually cook. And the cool thing about it is, you take the top off, and once you've got the top off of it and put this back on, this is like a regulator valve. So you can regulate the heat back and forth of how much you need. So you can either go full blast, or you can go to a small boil if you want, or just to keep something warm. So it's a good stove. It works really well. I also carry an extra bottle of methanol in here with me so I can refill it. But you get a lot of hours out of using this stove just on one good fill. So that comes in really handy out on the trail. Another thing I carry in here is, this is a mossy oak camouflage, and this is 12 foot by 5 foot, and this will go, once I put my shelter up in a plow point configuration, I can wrap this all the way around, and then what I do is bring the two ends together in the front, and that kind of makes a seal, and I take a log, good sized branch, and I go all the way across the bottom to hold it down tight, and that one keeps the bugs out, and number two, you put this thing out in dense woods and go 20-30 yards away, you cannot see it at all. It is almost totally invisible with this mesh around it. Works really good. Another thing I carry with me is a good ground cloth. This is a space blanket, but it's one of the really thick space blankets. It's not thin at all, and works really well. And it's got a reflective side on it, and keeps you warm inside. Makes a good ground cover inside the shelter. So plus it reflects your heat. So this plus the SOL bag works really good at keeping you warm inside. So that's about what I carry in my middle pouch here. Keep some of this stuff where it belongs. Water filter and my stove, and that bag stays closed back up. Now I switch up here to this front pouch, and this is, I call this my miscellaneous pouch because it's got everything in it. Got a nice Hemdall headlamp in here, works really well, and you've got a white light which is super bright, and you've also got, for nighttime, you've got red lights. So you can use these when you're in your shelter at night, and it works really well to see, and like I said with the flashlight, you don't lose your night vision. You can also put it on a red flash if you need help. But good little deal you can get. It's a Hemdall, and that's also from Amazon.com. Of course, in here, just like with the stove, I have multiple ferrocerium rods, ferro rods, all over the place. So I use those, of course, a lot to make my fires. And also in here, I've got a nice little bandana, comes in handy, especially in the summertime around here. And then down at the bottom, I've got some stuff to help make fire. A little Altoids tin, but I've got it full of dryer lint, which is a really good fire starter. And then I've got a bag full of char cloth that I made, so I can make either one of these. I can make a bird's nest and get a fire going pretty quick outside. This stuff definitely comes in handy if you need to build a fire in a hurry. So instead of setting up the whole hobo stove and all that, I can just make a small fire and hang my pot, and it works great. Also in here, I've got a ton of zip ties I use for all kinds of stuff around the camp. And then I've got a set of nice set of gloves made by Ironclad. Good leather palms and insides of fingers, and they're breathable on the backside. So really good gloves, and come in very handy and very useful. Also, one thing I carry in here is a lot of fat wood. And for those of you who don't use fat wood or never have, it's basically made out of a pine or a red pine, and you can see the lines, the reddish lines in the wood itself. And you take the back side of your knife, you scrape on this, and I'm going to show that in some future videos, but you scrape some shavings off of this into a little pile, put some loose tinder around it, and hit it with a ferrocerium rod, and you've instantly got a fire. Basically, the resin that's in this pine is the equivalent, almost exactly, of kerosene. So it works really good to start fires, and you can buy that at your local grocery store. I bought this in the fire section where they have the logs and all that stuff at my local Kroger, and I think I got a whole square box of this stuff for like $3. It was really cheap, really good stuff, works well. Also, of course, I carry a towel in here. I have screwdrivers and a lot of things that I like, small pocket knife, a pen. Like I said, I've got my towel in here. And also I carry first aid supplies in here. I got some stomach medication, hydrocortisone cream, triple antibiotics, Flexon bandages, a lot of band-aids, gauze pads, and medical tape. And another thing I carry for just small little cuts or injuries, usually out in the woods you're getting injuries in your hands, carry a lot of these little gauze rolls, and I can put that on and secure it with a small piece of tape, and that protects any little small cuts or little abrasions you get on your fingers and on your hands and stuff. So that comes in really handy as well. Another thing I carry in here is I've got wire cutters down here, and then back up here in the side bag I also have a lot of Kleenexes, and you can use those either for bandages or, you know, in a tough situation you can use them for toilet tissue. So that comes in handy. I always keep a good stock of that in here, just in case. That's kind of a necessity if you're out on the trail. And other than some zip ties down at the bottom, that's about it for that pouch. And then my outside pouch, the last one, I keep little personal items. If I need to take my wallet out or anything, I put it here in this last little small pouch in the back. Also back here I carry a small notebook so I can keep notes. I have a waterproof pencil that I can use. I've also got a Sharpie, comes in handy for marking things down. And one thing I use this pouch for is carrying my compass, of course. You have to have a compass. And I also carry extra ammunition. Being that I live in Texas, we have concealed carry law to carry weapons if you're licensed, and we also have open carry. So if I'm out in the wilderness, I can carry my sidearm with me. I carry an XDS 45. I keep several extra magazines in here, and there's of course one in the pistol itself. But anyway, that's my everyday bag. If I have to get myself back home, I used to work about 12 miles from home, and if something happened and I couldn't use my vehicle, then I could strap my pack on and I can hike home and pretty much stay off the roads, because once you get out of town, there's plenty of wilderness out there, lots of woods and forest. And I'd actually made a map using Google Earth to figure out the easiest, quickest way, concealed, to get home from where I worked, like I said, which was 12 miles. But anyway, I hope you picked up some tips. That's just my EDC bag that goes everywhere with me and what's in it. And like I said, this is all tried and tested gear. I've stayed out days with this bag before, and no outside support of any kind, just nothing but me in this bag. And everything in it has been tested and works very well. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Subscribe and like my channel. I appreciate you joining me today. And you guys be safe and take care out there. Thank you.